HuHa 2, ha!
Happy Harry's HuHa 2 parties!
Hello and welcome to episode 12, the final installment of Happy Harry's HuHa 2 How-Tos with me, your host, Chris O'Neill, Harry Patridge. And what an adventure it's been! Oh, not really an adventure, didn't go anywhere or do anything, but what a journey it's been. Again, not really a journey, but what a thing it's been over the last couple of weeks for me to show you this stuff. Now, my goal when I set out was to teach people basically everything they'd need to know to create their own animations in a program like Adobe Flash. And it's not for me to judge whether or not I was able to do that, but what I think is worth noting is the fact that over the 3 to 4 hours of footage that's been produced, that really wasn't enough time to show you guys absolutely everything. And there are big gaps, like I didn't really cover special effects animation, which I'm pretty bad at, you know, like fire and water and stuff. I didn't even teach you guys how to do a proper run cycle, which is basically just a walk cycle where the character pushes off the ground with more force and both feet actually leave the ground at the same time. But anyway, my goal wasn't to teach you everything full stop, but to teach you everything you'd need to know to begin making your own animations. And if I've helped spark your interest in animation or sow the seeds of inspiration, that's a good thing. What I'm saying is, if I've put my seed in you, that is a good thing. So, the goal of this week's episode is to make a cartoon from scratch and show you my workflow, which may be useful for you guys to adopt, and hopefully this will be a nice wrap-up to the series. So let's begin. Here we have my workflow. Emphasis on the my, because this works for me, but everyone is different. You may have a different way of working, maybe you'll do things in a different order to me, or miss out entire steps, whatever. But I'm pretty sure that no matter what, everyone begins with the initial idea and concept. Really a step that you can't go any further without, unless you improvise the whole thing, which is a little unusual. I can't think of anyone that does that. But then after the idea comes, for me, the script or the notes. Now, you may be different, and maybe you want to do the visuals first. After the idea comes to you, you'll do sort of sketches and concept work. But I like to go into a script because I tend to work with quite dialogue-heavy cartoons. Then, after the script, I will do the concept design where I draw characters and environments and props, and maybe there's a hard, tricky visual joke or something that I need to work out first before I can feel comfortable moving ahead. But then when the concept design is over, I'll get on to recording the dialogue or some kind of sound, whatever sound is necessary for the cartoon, really. If there's a song the cartoon sort of hinges on, I'll get the song made up, or at least a demo version that I can animate to. If there's a lot of dialogue, I'll tend to record that or work with other voice actors to get it recorded. Then, when I have the sound, I'll begin the storyboard/animatic. Now, typically, people produce a storyboard and then an animatic, but I kind of blend the two. Because I'm working digitally, I think it's actually easier to sort of hop right in with an animatic that you can kind of mold and mush and do funny things with as you go along and continue to edit it like you would a storyboard, but it actually is an animatic. Then comes the big one. In fact, I should probably put that in a big font or something. Animation and backgrounds. Everything before this is pre-production, everything after is post-production. This is where all your time is going to sink. Drawing every frame, drawing every background, colouring it, doing the effects, and all that kind of good stuff. After that comes lip sync. Now, lip sync is technically animation, but I often tend to do it after the bulk of the cartoon is finished, so that's why I've put that there. Then extra sound effects, maybe sound that wasn't necessary for me to begin animating with, but will help the story. Ambient sound, or maybe something in the background, I'll add that. And then finally, exporting, editing, and finishing the cartoon and getting it ready for people to actually watch. And we'll look at that. Now, I'm probably not going to show you the finished cartoon today. In fact, I don't think I will finish throughout the duration of this episode, but it will be on my channel, Harry Patridge, on YouTube, for you to watch. My goal today is to show you all of these steps in action. So let's begin with number 1. Actually, I already have my idea/concept, so let's get on to number 2. So here is my script, which I've written using the program OpenOffice. Not that that's particularly important. You can get it for free from openoffice.org, but you could write this on a scrap of paper or a piece of human skin. It doesn't matter. Of course, I haven't formatted it like a real script either. That's because only I will be looking at it. I would probably format it like a real Hollywood screenplay if I was sending it off and wanted to appear professional. So the script, which has been purely written for this tutorial, is pretty rubbish as far as ideas go, but I had to put something together. So it's called Doctor in the House. A panicked man stands over his choking wife in a public place. Man, my wife, she's dying. Is there a doctor in the house? Into frame steps the shady silhouette of a stranger. Their back is to us. Stranger. Yup, there sure is. Reveal the stranger is none other than Dr. Gregory House. House, says the man. After a beat, the man piles into House, knocking them both out of frame. Another reveal. The man is slashing at Dr. House's stomach, pulling out his innards. Man, there's gotta be a doctor in here somewhere. Okay, not the greatest joke of all time. In fact, I'll probably change the wording pretty heavily when it comes to actually recording the dialogue for this cartoon. I always do deviate from my script somewhat, but hey, it's a useful blueprint to begin with, and I could even show other people as a reference point. That is really the true benefit of having your ideas written down. You can show them to other people and you have a clear record of them without needing to go into the trouble of drawing anything. So, the next step is actually recording the dialogue. No, it isn't, Harry, you liar! The next step is actually concept art and figuring out how this thing is going to look. Now, a lot of that actually hinges on the appearance of the character House and doing a decent caricature of Hugh Laurie. And this is my first attempt. It's not very good. He looks like some kind of zombie that's been stranded on a desert island. Now, despite looking at reference pictures of the actor Hugh Laurie from my own secret stash, this was a pretty rotten way to begin, but I can't show you those pictures. You'll just have to trust me, it doesn't look like Hugh Laurie. Now, this is my second attempt, and it's a lot better. In fact, I actually don't think I got it any better than this. There are too many lines, really, in the character's design under the sort of eyes and with all the kind of hair and stuff. A little bit too complicated to animate, maybe, so I tried simplifying that down. Actually, I think this is a little weaker in terms of caricature. The chin is a little bit too big. The cheekbones a little too chiseled, especially compared to this earlier iteration. But I then thought about the character's proportion and the size of his head to his body. Obviously, we're going for quite a cartoony appearance here. I think I'm actually going to go with a pretty simple cartoony aesthetic across the whole board here, other than the appearance of his face. I want to hit home that this is supposed to look like a real person and actually make him stylistically a little different to the other characters. Here is an attempt at actually giving him some colour. He's got a fairly realistic colour palette because, again, I want to ground him sort of mostly in reality and make him look like a real person. I won't echo that with the proportion, but the colour scheme can be pretty realistic. Now, moving on to the panicked man. Really, this is just a character that needs to look like he's at the end of his rope. He's got bags under his eyes. He's got a weak little chin. He's balding. He really just looks like hell. And that helps support the idea that he's panicked about his wife and that he's a pretty anxious, panicked individual all over, which hopefully will make the joke at the end funnier when he turns into a bit of an arsehole and completely misses the point of what was supposed to be going on. Here, with his colour scheme, I've actually coloured the bags of the eyes a little darker there. I've sort of matched his orange hair with his red tie to try and give him a sort of sense of fieriness. And I'm imagining that he's someone that's pretty quick to jump the gun and get worked up. But other than that, again, he has a fairly realistic colour palette, which sort of matches him with the House caricature. The wife, I went with a green colour scheme for her hair and her bow to sort of differentiate her from her husband. That's a complementary colour to red. And decided to give her this lovely sort of red face and lots of drool. Backgrounds I'm thinking of are going to be pretty simple. Didn't put a lot of work into planning them. I might still have lines in the background, which obviously they don't have right now, but yeah, very pastel bright colours to lend the scene a kind of nice bright cartoony visual style. I'm not sure yet how many background characters there will be. I might put a couple in as silhouettes, but definitely if they're anywhere near the camera I'll probably go with actually adding some additional characters into the scene. I won't bother doing concept art for them. A lot of stuff I actually do draw on the fly, especially if it only appears once. But I'd say that's a pretty good set of concept illustrations to begin my animatic with. But before I can start my animatic, I need to do the dialogue recording. So before I open up my recording software, I'll talk a little about the equipment that I use to record my own voices and sound. Now, there's nothing to say you need to record your own voices and sound. You can give that job to somebody else, or you can skip out sound and dialogue in your cartoon completely. But if you're a big ham like I am and you like to record your own voices, this might be useful. So to begin with, I use a Samson CO1U USB microphone, which you can get from Amazon, I think from maybe around about $110, $120, or about £80 in the United Kingdom. And it's a USB microphone, so you can plug it in and begin recording pretty much straight away. It's not a professional grade microphone, but I think it's very good. On top of that, you'll want something to eliminate hard percussive sounds that people make when they're too close to the microphone. If they're making hard B or P sounds and speaking with a little bit too much air, a foam microphone cover will help eliminate that. Even better, however, is a pop shield, which is basically fabric stretched over a plastic disc. Again, you can buy this from pretty much any recording or music store. And that's usually clipped onto a microphone stand and placed in front of the microphone, between the mouth of the person talking and the microphone. Now, you're going to want some kind of support for your microphone, like a stand. If you want to really project with your voice and maybe even sing, I would suggest a full microphone stand, but a desktop stand is pretty good if you want to sit down. And that helps also your microphone from being knocked or bumped if you're holding it in your hand, which you don't want to do because all those little knocks and bumps will be picked up by the microphone. And finally, one of the most important things that you're going to need to concern yourself with when recording at home is the space you are recording in, all the surroundings. Now, if you are surrounded by lots of corners and walls and hard surfaces, your sound is going to bounce off and echo and reverb, and it will not sound good. What you want to do is make the space as dead as possible. And I don't mean that in any kind of sinister way. What I mean is eliminate all echoes. So maybe sort of record in a tight, small area, but hang up foam or mattresses or towels or anything you can to eliminate those echoes. You've probably seen people in recording booths before surrounded by foam, and that will help eliminate your bouncing and echo and reverbs and everything like that. So bear that in mind. Now it's time to open up my software and actually get recording. Okay, so the program I use to record and process my audio is Adobe Audition 1.5. Now, it's by no means a free application, but there are free equivalents out there, like Audacity, that I'll probably use in a moment, actually. So I'll just quickly show you what I've recorded here in Adobe Audition.
Help! My wife! She's choking! Is there a doctor in the house?
Okay, so that sounds pretty good, probably better at my end than at your end, but what I did was I recorded several takes of each line, and you can probably recognise that there are a few takes there, one after the other, because the waveforms are very similar to each other, and I did that with the microphone volume turned down fairly low, the input volume of the microphone, to make sure that I could shout and wail and it wouldn't peak the sound too much. Now, before I can move on, I'm going to do a noise reduction where I basically make every sound that isn't me talking or screaming or whatever as quiet as possible and silent, in fact. So what I need to do is actually highlight the noise at the point I'm not talking and select noise reduction, capture profile, and then select the entire file now that I have the profile of what the noise sounds like, and do a noise reduction pass that will eliminate all that extra noise, and we'll see the whole track gets quieter when I'm not saying anything, to the point of in fact being basically silent until I begin shouting again. Now also what I'm going to do is a dynamics compression pass, and that basically is an effect that you'll hear on pretty much every radio disc jockey's voice, and that helps to make the quieter sounds louder and the louder sounds quieter, and gives the sound a much more rounded and sort of fleshed out quality. So dynamics processing, I'm going to select the vocal comp pass, which is all the way down here, and hit OK, and you can actually see the waveform will change shape. The louder points will become quieter, the quieter points will become louder. And that's pretty good. Now what I'm going to do is go and pick out my favourite takes by simply getting in and sort of cutting out the ones I don't like, and then we'll take it into Audacity.
Help! My wife! She's choking! Is there a doctor in the house?
Okay, so here we are in Audacity, which is a free-to-use and free-to-download piece of software from audacity.sourceforge.net, and of course we can record in Audacity. But we won't do that today. Instead, what I'm going to do is go to File and Open, and bring in my already exported and recorded house audio from Audition. And if we hit Control A, we can select that. And naturally, like Audition, Audacity has effects such as dynamics compression under compressor, and also noise removal or noise reduction under noise removal here. But I tend to think that Audition is better at that. But hey, Audacity is a free piece of software, so I'm not really going to knock it. I won't get into detail about using those effects, but there's a lot of support out there for Audacity. So if you think it's right for you, definitely there's a lot of support there from people that use it. But something that Audacity is pretty darn good at is actually pitching voices higher or lower, which I can sometimes use to create a more masculine or feminine sounding character. And here at the end, I actually have the sound of the wife's choking here. Yeah, lovely. It's a little bit too deep right now, so what I'm going to do is select it there, go to Effect, and change Speed. This will make the sound slightly quicker. I can just do a pitch alteration, which alters the pitch without altering the speed, but I don't mind the coughs being a little quicker, so I think 12% is about perfect for my percent change here. Listening to it again. Yeah, the coughs sound a lot less like they're coming from a man and sound totally inhuman now, which is brilliant. Also, I might pitch up a few of the voices in the background going, house, 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 to make them sound more female or more male in some case, just to differentiate them a little from each other. But now what I'm going to do is export this out when I'm done, and finally I can bring it back into Flash. Right now, back in Flash, I need to go to File and Import to Library and choose House Audio 2. And if you remember, just like the lip sync episode, we need to bring up the Properties box, select the first frame we want the sound on, choose our sound clip, and we can begin editing it. And now if you click the zoom out option here, we can see the entire clip of our audio there as one long wave, and actually using a slider we can choose where we want it to begin and end, and I want it to begin right about here.
Help! My wife! She's...
Yep, that's good there. And then we don't actually have to drag the other slider all the way up to meet it. We can just cut the sound before it carries on. So by clicking OK and by inserting frames, we've now got that sound in our file.
Help! My wife!
So I can drag that out by either going and inserting more frames, or actually just hitting Control and then dragging like so.
Help! My wife! She's choking! Is there a doctor in the house?
And then what I'll usually do is make 2 or 3 layers for sound. Again, insert keyframe, again, go back to selecting house audio, and now we'll, using the same clip, we'll actually choose a later point in the sound and have that come in. So we want house saying something along the lines of, yup, there sure is.
There sure is.
Okay, and then click OK, and now we've got that response in there.
House? There sure is. In the house? There sure is.
Okay, so basically I'm going to carry on like that until I'm happy that the dialogue for the entire cartoon is timed out correctly.
Help! My wife! She's choking! Is there a doctor in the house? Yep. It's house. House.
Okay, so after adding my dialogue and a few other sound effects that I thought were essential to begin animating, I'm finally ready to actually lay down my animatic. And this is what I've got so far. I've began with a moving shot. I'll just mute the sound so I don't get any playback. I actually open up with a moving shot of the wife choking, and then we zoom out to reveal the panicked husband pointing. Just pointing and shouting. Now, we looked last week at the idea of zooming by using a tween, and if you go back to episode 1, I show you how to create a tween. But basically, what I've done here is she's animated, and also the husband is animated as well. And the way that I've done that is I've created a tween, and then when you go into your tween and actually double-click on it, you can see that it loops. It's almost like it's a little movie in itself. It's just a 2-frame loop there of her shuddering. Of course, the animation will be nicer than a 2-frame loop in the final version, but this is to just help the animatic along. And then also the husband, who is tweened on the layer above, will go into his tween, and we can see again he has his own little movie there with frames of animation there, rough animation for the tween. So I'll actually export this out and show you my rough animatic that I've created with tweens and very simple art.
Help! My wife! She's choking! Is there a doctor in the house? Yep. It's house. House. Wait a second, there's no doctor in here! What a dick!
Okay, so things are still very rough, but that's all part of the process. I think the short would benefit from a lot more sound effects and music, definitely the beginning and the ending, to sort of cap it off. I think another shot, a reaction shot of the panicked man just before he pounces on House, looking really happy, like someone saved his day. I think that would be kind of funny. But unfortunately, I'm not going to have time to animate this today. You'll have to wait to see that done properly. What I will talk about now, though, is where I get my sound effects from, and then how you can actually finish and export your movie for people to see. Now, I get absolutely all of my sound effects and quite a bit of my music off of the web. Now, I don't get all of my music off the web. Sometimes I'll make my own, sometimes I work with other musicians, but that's really a whole different area. But what you want to look for are royalty-free sound effects and music. Royalty-free basically means that after the initial purchase or the initial download or whatever, you do not have to pay that person ever again, and that sound is basically yours to keep and use indefinitely. Now, I do advise that you look deeply into any kind of contract that you enter into if you buy a sound effect or attempt to use a sound effect in one of your projects, even if it isn't for commercial use, because pretty much every website has slightly different rules and you don't want to get into trouble. But some of my recommendations are, if you want free music, Newgrounds.com is really good for that. Now, you will have to talk to the artist in question about using your work, certainly if it's a commercial project, and maybe even if it's a non-commercial project on Newgrounds. But if you're putting it on Newgrounds, which is a really good website for movies and games, animation specifically, and games usually made in Flash, then there's pretty much all the music you could possibly need already on the website for you to use. Freesound.org is a pretty great resource for sound effects, and they are free to use. I am not sure about the long-term implications of actually using those sound effects for a commercial project that you yourself profit from. Incompetech.com has fantastic free music you can use. I think the only caveat is that you have to credit the author or the musician in question, which really isn't much of a trouble if you're getting free music. So those are all pretty damn good. Now, paid, I've had pretty great experiences with audiomicro.com. Now, once you download a sound effect or a piece of music and you've paid for it, you can use it indefinitely, but they can get quite pricey. Usually it's about, $3 to $5 just for a single sound effect, and music can be way more than that. And I've heard very good things about sounddogs.com, and I know that's a paid service that may have some free sound effects on the website, but I can't particularly vouch for it. Only my friends tell me that it's pretty darn good. So remember, sound is a big part of your film. You can create a lot of atmosphere in it and give it a lot of character and depth, and it's really, another storytelling device. Don't ignore it. And yeah, you're going to need to find your sound effects from somewhere, so good luck. And you lay them in, by the way, into Flash, just like you do audio. There are no differences there. So, you've got your animation done, all the sound effects are laid in, it looks great, it sounds great, and it's really well polished, unlike this rubbish here. And you want to share it with the rest of the world. Well, how do you do that? To begin with, you want to go to File and Export, and export movie, and the default setting is .swf as the file type. You want to keep that as is, so click save. I'm going to have to click replace because I've already got a file called house.swf. So when I do that, it's going to give me some options here, and I don't really want to mess with any of them other than I want to turn the JPEG quality up to 100. It's set to 80 as the default, and the audio stream and audio event basically means whichever type of audio I've used, be it stream or event, and you'll remember the difference between stream and event audio. I very quickly talked about stream, at least, in the lip sync episode. You want to set those as high as possible, certainly if you've used both. If you've only used stream, then only set stream to be 160 kilobytes per second. But once they're set and your JPEG quality is at 100, you want to click OK, and that will export out your Flash movie. But you're not quite done yet. Now, .swf files can be played by themselves, and websites like newgrounds.com can host them for you and be seen by many people there, but you'll also need to add on a load bar and a play button at the beginning of your film, which you can also obtain from newgrounds.com. And watching animations, Flash animations in that format used to really be the only option, but things are changing now, and more people are watching their animation on the web in a pure video format, and transforming a .swf file into video used to be a nightmare. Flash's own video exporting options are pretty bad, and the third-party software that was sort of supplied to do the job was costly, and it would do horrible things to your file, like make the sound go out of sync and make frames drop and all that kind of stuff that you don't want to happen. That was all very problematic until a piece of software came along called Swivel, designed by the fantastic Michael Welsh, again of Newgrounds, and it can be obtained from Newgrounds for free, and this is Swivel here. Now, to use Swivel, really all you need to do is get it from Newgrounds for free, and then select Add, choose your SWF file. I've got quite a lot here, as you can see. There we want house.swf. And you can pretty much click convert and go. There are some very simple to use options. You can change the resolution, the image quality, or the bitrate I should say, and then the audio, you can patch in audio from somewhere else, or you can just extract it from the SWF. I tend to extract from the SWF, that's why I recommend exporting your SWF with high bitrate for the sound, and that's pretty much it. So you click convert, and we'll see the concept art at the beginning that I forgot to take out, and in a minute you'll have a very crisp, high quality but not massively bloated file which you can watch, and it will be your SWF in a video format, and you can upload it to newgrounds.com again, or YouTube, or Vimeo if you don't want anyone to see it, or Dailymotion. But no, I jest. Newgrounds and YouTube, that's fine. Do that. And that brings us to the end of the final episode of Happy Harry's HuHa 2 How-Tos. I know that we may not have covered absolutely everything that you would want to know, but hopefully we covered everything you all need to know to begin creating your own animated shorts. And if I can just digress slightly, I'd like to say thank you very, very, very much if you've stuck it out to the end and watched this series. Hopefully I can come back and maybe do some more episodes that look specifically at animation only, or maybe just advanced Flash techniques, and actually make your skills a little bit sharper. But if you feel inspired to go and make your own art, then that's fantastic, because you can do anything with animation. It's a really cool medium. You can do anything you can imagine. If you have ideas for characters or stories or just something weird that no one else has ever thought of that you want to put into a moving image and share with the rest of the world, you can. If you have a computer and a little bit of money or a little bit of time, you can put something like that together and share it with the rest of the world. And this stuff could potentially last forever. I don't think the internet is going anywhere anytime soon. And what a great medium to be able to have your ideas presented in. So good luck with all your future efforts, and again, thank you for watching Happy Harry's HuHa 2 How-Tos. God, I wish we'd picked a better title.